Hello, and welcome to the Year-End Planning webinar. We are so excited to have you today with us. My name is Chelsea Cousins, and I am part of the 5Q team. And today we are going to be talking about year-end planning. Our presenter for the day is Josh Bashork, Director of Marketing at 5Q. Over the span of his career, he has run hundreds of marketing campaigns, both for clients and an in-house marketing agency. He's excited to share the insights he's learned over the years, and we are excited to hear what he has to share as it relates to year-end planning. So a couple of quick housekeeping things. Number one, if you have any questions, feel free to throw those at us throughout the webinar. You can drop them in the Q&A box or in the chat box, and we will answer them before we sign off today. Number two, we will also be recording this webinar and sending it to you later on today or this week. And so you'll have the opportunity to revisit the content, revisit the information, and share that with other colleagues as you work towards your year-end planning. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to you, Josh.
Thank you, Chelsea. I'm really excited about this topic. It's hard to believe that we're more than halfway through the year already. And so I'm excited that everybody who registered for this and everybody's watching, I'm just excited that you're already thinking about year-end planning because it's really critical to get those year-end campaigns going and make sure they run smooth. Today we are going to cover a lot of strategy. Usually, if you've listened to any of our past webinars, I like to keep things really concrete, really actionable. This time I'm going to take things a little higher level and focus a little more on strategy. And the reason I'm doing that is because there are so many great articles about 150 million tactics you can use to have a great year-end campaign. They're fantastically written and you're probably inundated with tactics. But as I did research, I didn't see anybody talking about these types of strategies and really these nuances that go into planning. And so I'm hoping today that you'll get a lot of value out of this, and this content will be adding value rather than noise to the already crowded space. So what we're going to talk about is really who your most valuable audience is. Are you asking the right questions? Do you know how to pick the right goals? And then determining your lead and lag metrics. That might sound a little boring, but I think it's pretty fun, and I hope you'll agree. And then also getting the right resources in place. So first, this is just a quote: "Failing to plan is the same as planning to fail." And as Chelsea mentioned, I've planned a lot of campaigns, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm really action oriented, and I really like to get the ball rolling. So this is a quote that has been told to me by basically everybody: coaches, teachers, parents, business mentors, throughout the years. And it's a lesson that I had to learn, and hope that you guys will be learning the same as well. But it's something that's really critical to making sure that your campaigns are successful and you're getting the most out of your marketing efforts. So the first topic is really about knowing who your key audience is, your most valuable audience. And I love talking retargeting, segmentation, analytics. We've done webinars on finding your key audience on Facebook, where there's 900 million people or something crazy like that. This is going to be your easiest audience to find ever. And that is simply because your most valuable audience is actually your teammates, people in the trenches with you, working towards that impact. You see them every day, and they're plodding away. And I was lucky to see this example demonstrated by several different great leaders throughout the years. Starting right at my first, real job out of college, I worked for a marketing agency, and the CMO of that company, the chief marketing officer, spent a lot of time and a lot of resources on internal marketing. Anytime there was an initiative, anytime there was a campaign, he would have our designers print up posters to hang around the office. He would send out handwritten letters to the employees. He'd have meetings, all kinds of things, anything you can think of to to promote it internally to the employees, to the internal audience. And I happened to have a seat in a cubicle right next to a conference room, and the CMO and the CEO were in there talking, and they were talking probably a little louder than they anticipated because it was a bit of a hot topic. But the CEO was trying to get the CMO to cut their budget for internal marketing initiatives. And I remember this was over 15 years ago, and I remember so distinctly uh, the CMO saying, "I would rather cut ad impressions. I would rather cut any other marketing than the internal marketing because this is our most critical audience." And that conversation really stuck with me. Um, and that's kind of the you know uh, influence in naming this section. But it's it's a truism that you'll see again and again, and you probably seems like for several years you've seen there's a new report every week about how Facebook or Google or any of those companies are investing in corporate culture and how that makes a huge difference. We've also seen that internally with 5Q, and the way that we track customer success and the way that we track internal marketing success. Our CEO, Chad, actually tracks that and has been tracking that for what seems like forever to me, but probably close to a decade. And really, one of the critical factors in seeing customer success is if our internal team is able to realize that our work is focused on the mission of the company and impacting the mission of the company, and in alignment with that. And if you're familiar with John Maxwell, he's written the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. He states that really as a driving force for momentum. And this is a quote from him: "Many times the only difference between winning and losing is momentum." And that's very true regardless of what you're doing, whether it's a sports team that has the home field advantage, or if you're launching a new initiative, or if you're trying to build internal momentum for promoting a year-end campaign. So an action item here is I'd like you to kind of take out some notes if you're able to write notes now, or if you want to do this afterwards, and really think about what drew you to working for the organization that you do, because working in a nonprofit, people don't do it for the money. You have limited resources, you have more work than you can handle, but people are there because it's a cause that they identify with. So as you think about your year-end campaign and how you're going to present it internally and develop that momentum, really think about what drew you to working for this organization, what gets you excited about going to work every day, and ask your coworkers that as well. And then also think about how you can demonstrate the impact that different team members are having on the mission, and how this campaign will help the entire team work together to move your organization towards greater impact. And as you think about those and identify those reasons, we're going to also start asking correct questions. And the reason I put incorrect questions, it's a weird phrasing there as to why you're probably asking incorrect questions, is it actually comes from a book called The Questions Behind the Questions, or QBQ. And it's a book on developing a growth mindset, essentially. And so a lot of nonprofits are asking the incorrect questions because they're looking at the resources that they have, they're looking at the time that they have available, they're looking at the limitations, and really forgetting about making that impact happen and really expanding their vision. And one of the amazing things about nonprofits, one of the reasons I love working with them in particular, is because really they've done something incredible, which is They've gathered people together who really believe they can change the world and make a difference. And together, if they work for it, they really can, and they are every day. So it's important to remember that vision. And these are 3 rules for asking the right questions. It's a little twist on the questions that are in the QBQ book. I modified them to fit the nonprofit space. I really recommend reading it. It's a very short read, but it'll really clarify how to get in the right mindset for growth. And the first one is begin with what or how and make it mission specific. So you should be asking questions like, what is the next step to help us achieve our impact? How can we get the resources in place to take that next step? Rather than, what can we do for the $5,000 budget that we have? Or that type of thing. And it's got to focus on impact, not limitations, as well as focus on action. So it's got to lead you to actually do something to take that next step. Some examples of incorrect questions that we see regularly are, what can we get for a budget of X dollars? We have this much to spend, or we have this much to spend. What should our goal be? What kind of ROI can we expect? Really, the type of questions that are going to get you growing and get you the highest ROI are how can we get one step closer to achieving our mission, or what will move us forward towards that step. A perfect example of this mindset for me is a lot of times marketing budget is spent reserved exclusively for campaigns. And when you talk to nonprofits, they say, oh, we'd love to do awareness campaigns. We'd love to do nurture campaigns throughout the year that'll lay the groundwork for these bigger campaigns that our donation requests can have a stronger result, but we don't have the budget for it. And so we reserve all of our budget towards these campaigns. And I always enjoy that if they're not, especially if they're not using, say, the Google Ads grant, which gives you $10,000 a month in ad budget to spend on Google Ads. And that's a perfect setup for it because it's $10,000 a month, so you can't save it up for campaigns. You're forced to spend it monthly or lose it. And because it's ad budget, specifically, that won't get applied anywhere else. It's reserved exclusively for running ads on Google. And because it's year-round, it forces you to really think about those nurture type activities. And you'll find that there are lots of opportunities like that out there. TechSoup has a lot of technology grants, those types of things, partnerships, nonprofit discounts for software, all kinds of things like that will actually help you get there and help you get much further than you think. But if you're not asking the correct questions, you're not even going to be looking for those types of solutions. So again, focus on asking those questions and how you can move forward rather than looking at the limitations that are built into your budget or built into your schedule. And you'll be very surprised, especially if you're able to, tie that into the momentum of presenting the vision to your team and getting them all on board. You'll be very surprised at the opportunities that come up that you would have never even thought about. And there are opportunities that will make things bigger, more impactful than you could have imagined. So as you look at what your mission is, what your next steps are, you've built that momentum. Now you've got to set those goals. And if you're not thinking along the lines of asking the right questions, you're probably just going to do a goal review. So often people will say, we brought in $150,000 last year, so our goal this year is going to be $160,000. And the reasoning behind that is, well, they want to grow every year, which is a really noble goal, but it's not something that's going to get people excited, and it's not something that's even necessarily tied to your mission. So instead, you want to set goals that are going to help you move closer to your impact. goal, you're achieving your mission, you're going to want to build on that internal momentum. And maybe that would be, because you're asking the right questions, maybe that would be different goals than you would even have anticipated before you started this process. And then again, you want to make sure that they're SMART goals, which if you're not familiar with that acronym, SMART, the S stands for specific. So you might want to, get rid of poverty or something like that might be your grand vision. And that's super noble, but it's really hard to accomplish if you don't have specific steps to get there. So making sure that your goals are specific and and along those lines also measurable. And then you want to also make sure the A for the A is achievable or attainable. And that's simply because nothing kills momentum faster than missing goals consistently and repeatedly over time. You want to make it relevant, and that's again, that's the difference between saying we want to serve meals to 5,000 people this Thanksgiving versus we want to raise $160,000 because we raised $150,000 last year. So make it relevant to the mission, relevant to your impact goals, and then also the T stands for timely. So you got to have a timeline for it. Otherwise, those goals are just going to keep getting pushed to the back burner, and you'll never work on them. And the real key takeaway here is publish the progress. You want to make sure that you have a highly visible scoreboard internally so that your team knows how close you are to the goal and they can rally around the goal and see how they're doing on moving towards that goal. It's a real tangible, real visible way to show that their work matters and that as a team they're all moving towards the finish line there. Also, as a tech, using something such as a donation meter that's visible to your website visitors, visible to your constituents, to share with them your goals, why you're doing it, and how close you are. Everybody likes to be part of a goal. They like to be part of the winning team, and they like to take on kind of underdog challenges, which all nonprofits, in my mind, are the underdog. If solving the world's problems were easy, they would all be solved by now. So it's really an uphill battle. And by sharing your goals with your constituents and showing the progress that they're helping to contribute to, you're actually inviting them into that journey and inviting them into the story of your organization. When you have a goal that you haven't published and you're just asking them to give money to help further your cause, you're really leaving your constituents as outsiders that could potentially contribute, but they're not invited in and they're not part of the story. So make sure you have that goal visible and clearly defined as it relates to your vision. So we're on to lead and lag metrics. And as I said, it's more fun than it sounds. You have to you have to know that I find staring at Google Analytics and spreadsheets fun. So the definition of fun there might vary a little bit depending on your mileage there. But really what lead and lag metrics are is lead metrics are all of these things that have to be accomplished to get to your end result. So you may have seen, the example of the iceberg of success where it shows an overnight success and all the work that went into achieving that overnight success. Gaining new donors and growing your nonprofit, multiplying your impact is very similar to that. So, up here we see the donors come in, but really all of the work that went into it is creating awareness campaigns, engagement, website visitors, impact stories, live events, letters, emails, calls, ads, and anything else you can add in there. And oftentimes when you're working on this bottom part of this iceberg here, it can be hard to see the result. And so analyzing your data and developing good lead metrics helps ensure that you're going to stay the course and you are going to stick with the activities that have the most impact. And again, just to kind of bring home that point, sales data says it requires 8 to 11 sales connections before a sale is completed. So if you're selling something and you're on the phone, you have to call people 8 to 11 times really before they answer, make that connection, and are willing to do business with you. We're seeing very similar rates in the nonprofit world where they have to see ads, letters, organic search results, all those types of things, and they have to see multiples of them before people are comfortable with your story, comfortable with your mission, and ready to actually donate and take that step. And so when you look at campaigns, they often follow a similar path to this, which is you can see this top line here is actually users to the website. And you can see that's almost a straight line. That's about as straight of a line as you can get when it comes to a chart. And that's because you're promoting things out here, you're promoting, with display ads, retargeting, sending emails, all those types of things. But almost all of the revenue comes in the last couple days because people like to be heroes. They like to be the ones that step in and help you push over the goal. So even if they're deciding up front, way up here, that they're going to contribute, a lot of people will wait till last minute. But if you're looking at this area in the front and saying, man, we're spending this much revenue and we're only bringing in this much revenue, that type of campaign can get really scary. Or when you're even closer to the finish line and getting fewer results right before the big final push, and that can cause you to change tactics, stop doing some things that are actually really successful, but just haven't paid off yet. So what I want you to do as an action item is actually look at your most valuable channel for bringing in new donors. 90 to 95% of you, that's going to be email. Email is just a huge driver for donations for nonprofits across the board. There are a few outliers, but just about everybody, email is the biggest. And then go ahead and look at that and determine the effort required to bring the number of new donors in that you want to meet your goal. And just an example equation for this is, say you want to get 100 new donors, and you find that every 100 new email subscribers you add, you'll get 10 donors, to make the math simple. So if you want to get 100 donors, you have to add 1,000 email subscribers. And then you can take that even one step further and say, how are we getting these email subscribers? Is it Google Ads grant? Is it Facebook posts, social media? Is it organic search traffic? And then you can look at those and say, if I'm going to get 1,000 new email subscribers, I need to get 10,000 new website visitors from social media, or something like that. And from there, you can look at the required effort all the way on the front end with social media subscribers and driving traffic, and you can be confident that those lead metrics are going to end up, and maybe it's 6 weeks down the road, maybe people get on your email list and then they're nurtured for 3 months before they make a donation to a specific campaign, that type of thing. But what activities are putting people into the funnel so that they're going to be nurtured, so that when it comes to campaign time, you'll be able to get those donors that you want. And that's how lead and lag metrics work. And as you set them up, you want to set them up and track them to make sure that they are producing the lag metrics, which is the results, the donors, and then modify it, each quarter or with each campaign to ensure that you're getting the results. And that's how you optimize your lead and lag metrics based around your goals, which are mission focused. So now you have really gone through the whole process. You've asked the right questions, you've focused on your key audience, you've set great goals that are going to move your mission forward. And you're publishing those. And then also you set your lead and lag metrics so everybody knows exactly what activities they have to be doing to get those results and meet the goals. And now it's time to put it all together and put the resources in place, which from here is really just a matter of looking at those lead metrics and looking at what's required and putting in some deadlines for those. We've actually set up a spreadsheet just because everybody has spreadsheets or can use Google Sheets to make it really easy to see this. And all it is you set up all the activities, all the lead activities on the left-hand side here. You note who's responsible for them, and then you set the deadlines as they pertain to the campaign. From there, you want to make sure you show it to your team so that you can iron out any issues. Maybe David has a big project due the same time you wanted the donation meter set up on the website. And so now you'll have to kind of rearrange things and make sure that can get done. Both can be accommodated. And so it's just from that point, it's really just logistics in making sure everything's set and making sure you're tracking those lead and lag metrics.